Okay, make sure I am not muted. Welcome to our second day of class. I'm going to start by talking about estimating and rounding. Because on Tuesday, people were sometimes using those words interchangeably, which is common. It's just nice sloppy English, but it's not technically the right way to do it. So let's talk about things. On the whiteboard right here, you see estimating. I took a trip a few weekends ago to Umpqua Lighthouse State Park down by Reedsport. And let's talk about estimating how much this vacation would cost. Umpqua Lighthouse State Park has a fun lake by it. You see pictures of my kid on our paddleboard, and they're digging, trying to connect their holes underneath the sand. My kids love to dig in sand, especially if there's water nearby. So this is like their perfect thing. When you go to Umpqua Lighthouse State Park, you can do lots of tent camping, but there is one cabin that you can reserve if you get it far enough in advance. So we got this cabin, and there's also yurts that are just not quite in the right place. You can see the pictures of my kid hugging his grandfather-in-law, his grandfather, my father-in-law, that the cabin looks right out over the lake. It's very pretty, especially at sunset, just from the patio of the cabin. So it seems to me a great thing to try and snag that cabin at least once a summer. So some things we don't have to estimate. We know exactly what they will be. In this case, for 2 nights, it was $86 to reserve the cabin. That's not bad, cheaper than a hotel. And the reservation fee was $16, so that comes out to $102 total just for where to be. So ta-da. But there's other numbers we don't know precisely. We can have 2 different drives, 2 different routes to drive. We could go south. Actually, let me start using my pen as I'm narrating. So this cost we knew exactly, but we could take one route or we could take the other. They're a little bit different in mileage, 96 for the more scenic route, 88 for the not quite as pretty route.
Okay. Mileage.
I am rounding the mileage as I talk. Yes, that's okay. And I don't know exactly what my mileage of driving miles per gallon will be. It depends on traffic. If I'm stuck behind a logging truck or an RV, if I'm driving at a nice speed, how much I have to stop because the kids need the bathroom, things like that. So I don't know exactly what my mileage will be. So if I go to the next slide, then for the cabin rental, we knew that was 102 for the 2 nights. Gas for it's about 100 miles. And maybe I'm the kind of family that owns a car. In real life, I'm a 1-car family. My wife and I share a car, which is why I can't feed you waffles as well on Tuesdays. But maybe you're not. Maybe you happen to live downtown and can take the bus everywhere. And so you might rent a car to do this instead of having. There's food, we need to eat something, and maybe you would spend something else. I don't know. So let's do some estimating. Make up a imaginary family. How much are we going to spend on gas? Let's do that one first. It was about 90 miles, 100 miles. So I'm saying it's about 100 miles. We're not starting right where Google Maps says downtown Eugene is anyway. So let's just say 100 miles. How much will gas cost for 100 miles?
How much you use?
And what year would we be considering gas prices?
Yeah, well, let's pretend we're doing it next weekend. I just want. But what?
Have to estimate because gas stations are all different, right?
Yes, that's one thing. We don't know the exact number. Even if we've stopped by our favorite gas station today, by the time we left this weekend, it might have changed prices. So what do we think it costs? Let's just make up a number for how much a gallon of gas costs. $4 a gallon. Okay. And how many miles per gallon are we getting for our
We don't know.
Well, let's make it up.
You're doing 15 miles.
15 miles per gallon, okay, 15 miles. Per gallon. So let's put these things together. We're going 100 miles. That's our whole trip. It's actually 200 miles because it's both ways. We have to come home, right? So we have one trip. Is, I'm going to use like a double arrow. So that's about 200 miles. If we're getting 15 miles per gallon, I need to do, that's like 15 miles per 1 gallon. Hello. So what am I going to multiply 15 by to get up to 200? 15, 30, 45, 60, 75, 90. Let's maybe try 12. That's 15 times 12. 5 times 2 is 10. 2 times 1 is 2, 3, and then a 15. So that gives us 180. So close. It looks like it should be 13. So if we have 13 15s, 3 times 5 is 15. 3 times 1 is 3, plus 1 is 4. And then 1 times 5, 1 times 1. Now we get up to 195. So that's about times 13. If we do the times 13 on here, then we get 13 times 1 per gallons. So 195 miles goes with 13 gallons. Everyone see what I did on the margin over here? Whoops, over here. So back here, I can then put about 13 gallons. And that costs $4 for each gallon. So I need a times 13 to get 13 gallons. I need a times 13 here. So 4 times 10 is 40. 3 times 4 is 12. We're going to wind up with $42 for gas. Did I do that right?
We got to carry the one.
No, 52. You are right. Thank you for catching my mental math.
Speaking of carrying, how come schools nowadays don't teach carrying anymore? Like,
I'm not in charge of that. I
I
think so.
know, it's essential. So why doesn't elementary school teach it anymore?
Okay, so we have $52 for that. Are we gonna say that this pretend family owns a car, or are they gonna rent a car and we should figure that out? They're gonna own the car. Okay. How about food? About how much should we have them eat? Yeah,
I think 200 would be a good spending limit for camping, but a cabin would already have bare essentials, so maybe 100, about 100 for food for a whole family.
okay, I think we're gonna stay 2 nights, so we need sort of like a dinner, a full day and a breakfast at minimum. You
Oh,
could
yeah,
probably-
that's easy. That
you
can
can-
easily be 100.
Yeah, you can easily do that. So we can be generous. Maybe we're arriving earlier than dinner the first night. Maybe we're staying later than breakfast. Maybe we're eating out at one of Reedsport's restaurants, support their economy. Any miscellaneous money, or is this just a camping trip? Nothing fancy. Got it.
If they go to Reedsport and they don't.
What should we put down? Let's write down something.
Well, if you have to pay like certain parties, you probably want your miscellaneous or whatever. Just in case you said an emergency.
Okay, I'm gonna write 30, because I'm betting that you at least want to buy firewood at the campsite if you're allowed to burn. It was a sad weekend when I was there and I wasn't allowed to make a fire. For my kids, s'mores is like the whole reason to go camping almost, right? So
I thought the reason to go camping was to get malaria.
not anymore. Anyway, So we could add this up. We could do a more careful job. We could talk about the family we're pretending to model with more detail. But the point of estimating is that we don't know these numbers for sure. It's not like we have numbers and we're rounding them. It's we're just sort of making things up because the gas might change by the time the weekend comes. How much we spend on food, we might not actually know that till we get to some restaurant or get to some grocery store. So estimating is what we do before a problem starts, when we're just making up what numbers to use. Make sense? Okay, I'm going to stop this recording.